In Rise, Articulate released recently new functionality. We can add equations, math equations, in our courses. And I know it's been requested many times going back several years. And I found something interesting about the way they implemented it. I believe they will kind of roll out similar functionality to give us inline images. But let's take a look. If you just hit the slash, you can insert math equation. You can put it almost anywhere. Here I'm doing it inside my heading. You can even do it inside a table, which I just found out, which gave me another idea about our icons. But let's take a look at our math equations. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to try to put it inside my heading here, which is an H2, I believe. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so here's where I put in. I didn't come here to math, to be honest with you. I'll just do something simple. And here's short description. Let's take a look at the HTML this creates. Short description, longer. Someone indicated that it wasn't fully accessible, and I don't fully know why, because these do show up in the HTML. But okay, cool. So it does shows up in my H2, and it's using its own kind of a serif font, which I think is commonly used in math equations. But let's switch over to preview. Let's see what it created for us in the HTML. And one thing, because it is an inline element at various screen sizes, browser sizes, it may wrap kind of weird, or kind of may create kind of an unintentional layout. Unfortunately, because Rise is fully responsive, we do have to deal with and kind of take into account the wrapping of an inline element. But okay, so if we look at the HTML here, it inserts an element right inside the paragraph. For some reason, it's weird. Okay, this is one weird thing about Rise. It gives me an H2 and then a paragraph within the H2 and a strong tag. This is weird. It's just weird HTML. Oh, I'll complain about that some other time. But here's a new element, Rise Math. Now, the first thing I noticed, Rise Math, that's an HTML element, but that's an arbitrary one. It's not like an official HTML element, but in HTML5 you can come up with your own arbitrary elements. The only thing I just thought about what is a screen reader going to do with this? It's not going to recognize it the way it would like a paragraph, but maybe it's fine, especially because it does have the ARIA labels. I can already see some of them here. And it gives me the shadow root, which I don't like, though they're very difficult to style. But luckily, we don't really have to mess with it too much. So here's where my short description ended up and longer description. And the ARIA labels, they look accurate. So I'm not totally sure why someone was saying they're not fully accessible. I think it has to do with how equations can become very complex and stuff. And that's interesting. Span slot. Not real familiar with what the slot is, but it seems like it's long description is taking up some empty space. What is it? I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, so there's our equation. And okay, so I was previewing. Let's go back into edit mode. One cool thing, if I want to duplicate this somewhere else. Oh, and by the way, to edit, first I thought I didn't know how to edit it. Like double clicking it won't do anything. First I thought you just had to delete it and insert a new one if you wanted to edit. Edit, it's right there, math equation. Puts you right into it. And if you want to copy this from, or just duplicate from one block to another, you can just drag it around. Boom. It just duplicated it, put it right into my table. So yeah, you can have equations inside your table. Isn't that cool? Okay. Now, notice my little icon here. How did I do that? One of the most requested features would be inline. Images are just icons, symbols, and you can use emojis or the basic character symbols that you can insert with key commands and stuff. But most people want something branded that relates to their course material. So we've got an icon here. Let me show you how we can create our own little library of icons to use inline in Rise, even in a table. What we're going to do, we're going to use some icons from my favorite icon provider, Icons 8. They give them away for free. That you're supposed to give them some credit, which is fine. You can pay. It's like $15 a month. I don't really want to pay for icons, but it's a good way to start using some icons. If in your course, just if you publish it publicly, you should give them some kind of credit. And so let's look at, okay, what we're going to do. We're basically going to hijack the equations for our own use and insert icons instead. So the interesting thing about the Rise math element, and I just noticed it has a class. I didn't notice that yesterday. And by the way, Rise it changes a lot. You may have noticed about every week or so it does change. That's why you may have to clear out that cache to get things to work properly once in a while. But so the inserting, and by the way, there's some history. One of my more popular videos was showing how you could insert an image or icon in Rise through the text editor, basically injecting your own CSS styles or even image data through the editor, which was not, I don't think Articulate wants people injecting their own code through the interface. So kind of a security thing. They changed editors to something called TipTap. The old one was called Frawala, and I was just showing people how to insert your own styles through the editor. That changes now because in TipTap, the security is much better. You cannot modify the HTML the way you used to be able to. So we didn't have a good way to insert icons. There are a couple ways. that I've been thinking about showing people how to do. But with this equation editor, it's kind of a game changer. It's going to be the best way, because if you look at the HTML, so if you take my course in learning CSS for Rise theme design, we go into selectors a lot. What we need is a specific selector to hook onto, something reliable that our CSS can hook onto. And the first thing I notice is this attribute called tex, T-E-X. At first I thought that was a misspelling. Like, shouldn't it be text, T-E-X-T? No, tex is like the, for this MathJax equation, it's like an open source thing, but it's like a short code for making complex equations. But anyway, so we're going to hook onto that text, T-E-X. This is where I put my dumb little equation. And we're actually going to use that as our selector. Now, this is advanced CSS. If you're just starting out learning CSS, I don't cover this until a more advanced lesson. But let's take a look at this. And it's an inline SVG, which is cool, although it's within the shadow root, which is really advanced. And we're not going to go into shadow roots, because we don't actually have access to style that with our CSS. But what we can do, we do have this attribute text, and right here I have icon 1. Now, I'll just show you real quick. Text icon 1. How do we use that as a selector, you might be asking? Well, so here we have Rise Math. That's our element, arbitrary element. This might be the first arbitrary HTML element that Rise has introduced. I think. I don't know, but let's. Where did my... Okay, Rise Math. Now, to style an element with one of its attributes, TEX, that is the attribute. We're going to use brackets, and then text equals... Actually, I had just copied. It's easier to copy sometimes. Text equals icon 1. And icon 1, that word, that's going to be unique. Now, keep an eye on icon 1. What I usually do, just to make sure I have the right selector, just do background red. Okay, so I can obviously see that I have the correct selector here. Now that I know that my CSS is working background red, I can just use that to insert my own image. All right? Remember our friends from Icons 8? Actually, I don't want to brag. I don't want to make this all about myself, but they, on Twitter or X, whatever, they had a little contest. Someone was stealing their icons, putting them in their other icon libraries. And they don't get a lot of engagement on X, but I kind of entered the contest. Not very well. With just a quick response. And no one else entered, I guess. So they gave me a coupon, basically. I didn't use it, but I complained about it. The wording was odd, but they ended up updating it to give me like 15% off, I think, for like a year subscription. But I don't want to pay for icons at all. But it started out, it was only like $1.50 for the first month. I was like, that kind of sucks. Why not give someone like half off, or just give away a free subscription? Anyway, if you see some icons you like, and they have tons of libraries, you can even search. So I think this is a library called Color, maybe? You can search for other icons. Anyway, I just wanted this a color wheel for my course. I'm going to hit copy. Now what I want to do, I'm going to link to the PNG. Now when I package up my course, I'm going to bring these icons local, but for now, just for testing out of my CSS, I'm going to link to PNG. Click that. Apparently it copied it for me. Let me open a new browser here. Okay, now here's the icon. And it's a bit small, but if you look at the URL there, size equals 100. Let's supersize that, 200. Now this link, this is what I'm going to use in my CSS. So let's go back here. Rise Math text icon 1. Okay, I don't want background red, but I'll do background image URL. And I can see that just the edge of my icon, but it looks like it's working. Background size cover, and then you can still see my icon 1. There's a couple ways to get rid of the that text or TEX, that value of that attribute. I'm just going to do color transparent. I think that's going to work for me. I'm going to make sure this is going to display inline block. I think it's automatically displaying inline block. And then overflow hidden. If I had a really large value in there, I don't want it to affect the elements like beside it. And then if I'm doing that, I need a height. I actually kind of like the dimensions of it already, but I'm going to need to control that a little more. I'll do 40px width, 40px, and pretty much all the icons are going to be square. So as long as my width and height are both the same, it's going to fill up my background pretty much perfectly. So I'm doing 40px by 40px. And so that's the basics of how you can set up a library, and I'll show you in a second the library that I've started of icons. But that's it. It's a few lines of CSS, and now we've got icons in our Rise course. And I'm going to drag this around. Boom. Drag it, put it into the table here. Isn't that nice? We've got icons in our table. And I set up 2 different sizes in the library I'm building. One for when it is just inside a regular text element, and then within a table, I probably want them a little bigger. I'll show you the CSS for that. Now, I've already set up 3 icons for my new, my own icon library, and I'm thinking I may kind of release this, maybe a set of 100 icons that are like maybe commonly used. That people want. So give me some feedback if you want to see like a, it's really just a theme component of maybe 50 or 100 icons. Let me know if you have some specific ideas for icons. Let me know, like what the most common icons would be. But most people need custom tailored icons, and I will give out the source code for this, so you can as a starting point, use my little library of 3 icons here. You can use to set up your own. Okay, so I've got inline icon here. Let me show you how this works. What I'll do, insert math equation. And by the way, I'm pretty sure this is how in the future additional like inline image, I assume Rise eventually will let people add inline images. I think it's going to be through this similar dialogue, because the way Rise prioritizes new features, it has to be like a new dialogue. You'll notice they don't tend to update old blocks very often. Causes a lot of problems. So you'll notice the AI features brand new functionality. Meanwhile, people are requesting stuff from years and years ago just to improve the old features, but they rarely do that. There's a backwards compatibility problem, but very smart thing they did. If you just type the / you get this new dialogue, so they'll be able to add new features to this dialogue, and it's not going to affect old courses very much because those features weren't there before. So I assume eventually, maybe within 6 to 8 months, we may see an inline image option here. But who knows? I'm going to insert math equation. Start typing in LaTeX, and I've already set up my library based on icon. I think I just do 1, 2, and 3. So here's icon 1, and look, it's even showing up here. Now I am using the Stylus browser add-on, free browser add-on. It lets you preview your CSS theme components. So icon 1. I've got icon 2, I've got icon 3. Let's use my icon 3, my color wheel. Color wheel. Put in your descriptions for the unsighted or poorly sighted people. And it's right there. And what I've also done, I'll show you the CSS. Let's say I want in my table here, isn't that what we've been asking about for a long time? The icons in a table. I'll do my icon 2. Right there, I've set the size to be bigger inside my table. But when it's inside a regular paragraph, it's that smaller size. And like I showed earlier, I can highlight this, drag it to another block. It'll duplicate it right there. And if I want, I'll just highlight it, just drag it back here. And then, oh crap. Shoot. Oh shoot. I added that space. Now, oh crap. How do you get rid of that? Shoot. Okay, let me try it again here. Highlight, duplicated, math equation, icon 3. Let me go back to icon 1, my gear icon. It's right there. Okay, great. Now I've got a table with my icons. And this is, I'm just previewing with my handy tool Stylus. I go through all the tools I use in my CSS course. I'll just turn that off. So if I sent this for review to someone, they would not see that. So if someone is reviewing it, you may need to screenshot or package up the course and send it to them for an accurate preview. But let's take a look at, so really simple system I've got going here. These are the three icons to the, or the three URLs to the icons. And this is where I set up the sizes. So by default, 30 by 30 pixel. That's going to be within the most elements, paragraphs. And then when it's inside the TD, table data, 90 pixels is the size I set up. Oh, and this is the preview also. I just set that to, like when you're in the LaTeX dialog, or the equation editor dialog, I set it to be 100 pixels just to make it a little bigger. And there we go. Then the last step is going to be exporting your course, and you'll probably want to bring the images locally. I show you how to do that in the sample files. So let me know if this helps you guys and if anyone is going to use this. And if you do have specific requests, I may put together like my own like mini library, 50 or so icons that are commonly used that you may want in your course. Let me know if you have an idea for just some basic icons that you'd like to see that you can easily add to your course. Now this is my final course. I've exported it and added the theme component and saved my images locally. Generally, you don't want to leave dependencies on other services like Icons 8. And Icons 8, it probably won't, they have pretty good uptime. I've never had an issue with them, but in case their site goes down or there's some hiccup with their server, safest thing to do is to just save those images locally, put them into your theme folder, and just looking at my exported course. So inside SCORM content, got the index file where I link to the theme component, custom.css, and then I put the images right inside the theme folder, right alongside custom.css. And then to look at my final custom.css, this is where I put the relative link to the icon files, and you could save out your own PNGs or JPEGs, whatever you want. And so it makes nice, clean CSS. I don't have those long links to Icons 8, which is a dependency. We want to avoid that with our finished courses. And you can see this links correctly to my PNG files. And a little bit about this CSS. So what this CSS is doing here, this is our pretty advanced selector. When it finds the element called RiseMath, and the attribute TEX starts with icon. So in case you're using this anywhere else in your course, you probably won't. You'll want to make, if you don't use my recommendation of just starting it out with icon, you'll want to make sure if someone is using the equation editor that you're not going to confuse your style. So as long as everything begins with icon, and I just have icon 1, 2, 3, as long as it begins with icon, it is going to start picking up these styles, which should avoid any kind of conflicts if you're actually just using the regular equation editor to use actual equations, which I don't. I know some people do, but like I said before, I did not come here to math. I came here to add images in my table and in paragraphs and even inside heading elements. All right. Oh, and I will let you download this so you can look through my source files. Pretty simple. I keep everything into a folder called theme. This makes it very easy to copy and replicate it to other courses. And especially if you have a bunch of edits happening to your courses, you're going to want to make your theme components easy to reapply to your courses. The final piece to this is inside index. Oh, it's a long file. There's one link you need to add to theme custom.css, and I put that right above app. If you put it into the head element of your doc, the only thing that does, it makes me a little nervous because it creates a render blocking file, and with Rise, it really doesn't matter where you put the link. I mean, you're going to want to put it within head or body. I recommend just putting it inside body. And have noticed Rise, you'll probably notice they can be kind of slow to load even a very short course. So we don't want to add anything up into that head. Basically, everything in head loads before any content is really displayed. That's why I just throw it inside the body so it loads asynchronously. And once people are going through your course, this file is already going to be loaded, so you're not going to notice any extra lag time with any of your theme components.